I don't know how I should start. It's a difficult story to tell.
It is.
I mean, so much happened. Okay. I guess I'm gonna go with, it was our birthday. So it's our birthday. I'm up from Cortland, Illinois. He lives down in Indianapolis, same town as my girlfriend, and so I'm down in Indy for my birthday with my family and my girlfriend's family,
And me.
and him. He was just up there in Illinois with us, but we came back down to Indianapolis because we had to leave for Florida College with one of our friends. It was the morning of our birthday. We had just spent the night, that Friday night. Woke up, we're eating breakfast. It was, I don't even remember the time. It was just, I had just finished my pancake, and Ethan looks over at me with a befuddled face. Just, I mean, completely in shock. I don't even know what he could possibly say to me that would match that face. And he picks up his phone. He's like, "Why are you calling me?" And see, that wouldn't have been so weird because I thought probably just pocket dialed him. My phone wasn't in my pocket. It wasn't in my butt. It wasn't on the table where someone's arm could have. It wasn't even in anyone else's hands. I left it over on the coffee table in the other room. So Ethan is getting a phone call from me, and I look over, and my phone's sitting on the coffee table. So I walk over there, and my phone says, "Incoming call from Ethan." Yeah, that pretty much just freaked me out right there. I don't even know like what was going on. I was like, "What?" And it stopped.
We weren't sure what to do.
We were speechless. It was as if something strange had just happened. I mean, that's pretty obvious, but it was a little unsettling a bit, but a nice, surprising way to start our birthday, nonetheless. We kind of just forgot about it. It was kind of weird, but we're like, I guess phones do that. It's just kind of a strange thing, but whatever, it's fine.
Later that day, we're getting ready to leave. We're headed back down to Florida for college, second semester sophomore year. I'm at my house packing. He's at his girlfriend's house just chilling with his family. I go pick up my phone. There's another call from Jonah. So I call him back. He doesn't answer. I call him again. Same result. He didn't answer. So I kind of just let it be. And then I keep packing, putting away stuff, talking to my family, my girlfriend. Go back over to my phone because we're trying to figure out plans for leaving town. Have another call from Jonah. Call him again. There was no answer. Finally, Jonah calls me back. He's like, "What did you need? What do you want?" I was like, What do you mean? You called me first." He's like, "Well, no, I didn't. What are you talking about?" I was like, "You called me twice." He's like, No.
I never called him. I was with my family. We had my birthday lunch, and I went right from there. We were sitting around my brother's apartment playing Battlefield 3, 4 actually. I think it was the new one. But I was not touching my phone, and we had gotten back to the Sewell's house, and I was just busy, making sure I had all my stuff together, and I realized I had those missed calls from him. I had missed calls from him, and so when I called him back, jumps right back into his story. I'm wondering what he needed. He hadn't called me. He thought I had called him. And so now there's this phone tag that our phones are playing without us.
Yeah, it was a technological phone tag game without human intervention.
That we know of. I mean, I wasn't touching my phone. He wasn't touching his phone. we thought that was a little strange, and now things are starting to get a little uncomfortable. Yeah, we aren't sure what our phones are doing. We're like, oh, it's strange, you know. So we the time comes when we have to leave Indiana. So he's with his family. I'm driving down to Columbus, Indiana, with my girlfriend. And we're supposed to meet at one of the churches down there, just in the church parking lot, to get all of our stuff packed into our friend's car. And we get down there, and Sarah and I are waiting in the parking lot, and then Morgan shows up, our friend who's helping us get down here, and then Ethan shows up. We get all our stuff packed into the car.
I'm trying to hurry. There's a snowstorm coming in. We're trying to leave town before that.
Huge storm.
Biggest of the century, according to the newscasts.
Yeah, it was one of the biggest, coldest snowstorms supposed to be hitting the upper Midwest. And but we got in the car all packed up. We were ready to go. Said our goodbyes to our loved ones and headed off down the road. Half an hour into the drive,
Been on the road a while.
Ethan looks at me and he says, "Jonah?" And I feel my phone vibrate. I'm like, what?
I left my phone
And
up. Jonah's calling me again. Now, obviously, he wasn't calling me.
I'm like, serious? Another butt dial? So I feel my phone vibrating. And right as I pick it up, it says incoming call from Ethan, and then it closes, and I missed a phone call.
It was like a basic afternoon driving home or back to FC. We're at about probably cross back into Kentucky, and we're driving down, and all of a sudden Ethan looked at his phone and Jonah was calling him. And it was weird because Jonah was sitting exactly right behind him, but Jonah's phone was receiving a call from Ethan. So that was kind of weird. We were all trying to figure out what in the world was going on. They hung up on each other. Then it happened again. So they answered, and neither one of them could hear each other through their separate phones.
I'm like, okay.
It's gonna be going weird now.
This is the third, fourth, fifth, you know, depending on whose phone was doing what and thing. We weren't really sure, but so we're not sure what's happening. His phone just called me, and my phone was calling him at the same time. So we just, you know, I held my phone in my hand and I waited that time. After this had happened, we're driving down the road, and all of a sudden my phone vibrates again.
Probably like 20 minutes later.
And I look down and it says phone call from me, and I said, Ethan. And he picks up his phone, it says phone call from Jonah. And so we're looking at it right as it's happening, and we didn't touch anything on our phones, nothing. I wasn't searching through contacts, I wasn't going through messages, I was just waiting there. I was eating trail mix. He was up front.
I was playing music on the computer. We had forgot our CDs, so we were doing it by hand.
And so I'm like, okay, and so I try answering it, and I'm like, hello? And I can't hear him, he couldn't hear me. And so there was like a wall that we couldn't like talk through, but our phones were like connected, but we couldn't hear each other talk through it. And so we just hung up. And it didn't happen again for another hour or so.
It was difficult to really understand what in the world, what was going on between them. That their phones would be giving this communication to one another. No. Was it just their phones acting weird? Or was it something even more weird?
It happened probably an hour or so later. The phones called each other again. And so I pick up and we answer, and then we could hear each other for some reason.
Really? It
was
far away.
Yeah, it was like there was a bad
call.
connection, even though we're like right next to each other. Might happen sometimes, I don't know. But so I was like, you know, I'm really confused by this, kind of freaked out, like why our phones are, you know, calling each other. And so I go through my recent calls. It says there are no outgoing calls. I have not dialed a single outgoing call all day, except for there was one or two
Except for when
phone
you
calls
called me back
that I
after.
had for Ethan, and that was around the time that I had received missed calls from him. And
on my phone, I had no outgoing calls except for those couple of times we were playing PhoneTag earlier at our houses.
so all those times that his phone called my phone called his phone, our phones did not record that anyone had called or we had called them. I'm like, okay, there's no info on my phone. There's no info on your phone. What does this mean? What does it mean for? Is there coincidence between the fact that it was our birthday? I don't know if there's any correlation between the fact that it was our birthday and then our phones started doing some weird thing.
About at the after the last call, I get on my phone and hop on the internet, 4G, start researching and like trying to figure out if anybody else had this happen before, and there's not really any recorded evidence of phones calling each other like that.
And then especially leaving no like digital evidence on the phone later. There's nothing that says, oh yeah, this phone called this phone and this phone called this. There's nothing there on the phones. So I start being speculating. What's happening? What's going on between our phones? Is there something paranormal happening here? I don't know. I tend to shy away from the paranormal stuff, and I don't believe it's completely ghosts. I don't think that's completely out far reach, but I don't believe this is necessarily a paranormal thing.
Most stories are kind of wonky when it comes to that.
Right.
It just doesn't seem to fit.
And I guess maybe you don't really know until things happen to you.
That's true.
But I mean, I start making jokes, and
They weren't good ones.
what if we died on our way down to Florida
See? Not
on
very
our
good jokes.
birthday? Yeah, it's not a good joke.
No,
but
it's
what if we
terrible.
died on our birthday and our spirits came back to us earlier that day and tried to call us on the phone to warn us about what was happening, what was going to happen, and it saved our lives? We may have been distracted by our phones at a time when we could have been killed. And we were distracted and we dodged a bullet or a car or a bird.
About this time that he suggests that, Morgan and I just stare forward. We're like, why would you even suggest that? It's horrifying.
I don't know.
I mean, the possibility of that happening seems outrageous, but
could have. I mean, we looked into it further. We got down. We got down to Florida, unpacked our things. It's been a day or two since the incidents, and like he said, he looked it up that day. I ended up doing some research on my computer and trying to find out if there was anything that could make this happen. I couldn't find anything. We have a friend who has dealt with some paranormal things. I decided there's no digital evidence of things that go haywire like that on that kind of scale. So I figure might as well check out the paranormal just in case. We consulted my friend Andrew Jonas. He's a little weird, but I mean you gotta be.
All right, so I've known Jonah and Ethan for a while now, and that they came to me with this story about getting phone calls from each other without anybody actually calling. They kind of explained the whole story to me, and had my share of paranormal activity, and so they decided to come to me. Wise choice, I think. Now, they asked me what I thought was going on, and here's what I told them. What I told them was, what they have experienced is, they discovered the ethereal schism. Now, the ethereal schism it's a very complex mechanism. Now, when more people use the ethereal schism to come back here, it creates tears in the fabric of time and space, fabric of reality. Einstein talks about it in his theory of relativity. He actually has a section on the ethereal schism. It's not in a lot of editions, but you can find it. Now, what actually happened is the idea that they were killed, and in being killed, they crossed into the void. Now, just dying does not create a tear in the space-time continuum. Re-entry is what tears. Because the schism is only designed really to go one way. Now, what happened was this particular chronological schism, what it created was an anomaly in which they were able to communicate. Now, what he believed was he was communicating in order to save himself. What probably was actually the case was that they were simply trying to foreshadow. And some people would say, isn't that the same thing? Not really. They were simply trying to communicate. Now, in this communication, what ended up happening probably is that it caused them to do things a little differently. Just so, say, they stopped long enough each time that it took off a minute and a half, 2 minutes of their drive back. And in that allotted time, they hit something, ran to another car, whatever caused them to die. And so taking that time off ended up saving them. The bird flew by already, or the person was not driving at the same time as them. And so what that did was, in the end, it did save them. Now, one thing that added a little bit of power to this idea is that I said the schism is really only meant to go one way. That's death. What creates little tears in the schism that actually end up healing themselves is birth. Now, with birth, what that does is it creates both a temporal, chronological, and spatial schism. Think of it like a complex carbohydrate. Okay? Complex carbohydrates are better for the body because the body knows how to handle them. It doesn't have to complete the carbohydrate in order to use it in the body. Well, that's just like reality. It's easier for reality to fix a chronological, temporal, spatial schism than handling one. It can take all three at once in a much better way, and it seals itself up very well. However, it's on a cycle. So every day, schisms are happening everywhere because someone is born every day. Somehow the fabric of reality can take it. We're not really sure how. Einstein wasn't able to get that far in his research. He was playing around with it. There's some other physicists who have tried to pick up on his work to no avail. Some of us, like myself, are trying to study, but it's we don't have all of his information. When you have all three of them together, what that does is it allows multiple usage. And in so doing, they were able to constantly call each other as spirits. And so basically, the only reason they were saved was because it was their birthday.
that, not only did all these calls happen, but they haven't happened again.
Never.
Since that last call in the car on our birthday, they've never happened again. It's been like 2 weeks now.
2.5 weeks.
2.5, 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks since.
It has been 3 weeks since.
Is that your phone?
That's my phone.
No!
Oh my god! Oh my goodness!
Are you kidding me? No!
No! Oh my goodness!
That is not funny. Oh my goodness, that is not funny. Jonas, you gotta be kidding me. Oh my goodness, this is missed call from my twin. I'm not joking.
This says missed call from Jonah.
What is going on? That is the scariest thing that has ever happened to me. I don't even know what to think right now.
It hadn't happened in 3 weeks.
And you just...
And it just did.
This isn't some joke, like... Because... No, I know, but... Okay, because we started filming this as a mockumentary. I'm not even joking. And right as we say this hasn't happened since. It happened again. You're not doing anything, are you, Noah?